Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Patty Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Living Her Legacy nonprofit. If you weren't able to join us last week, Living Her Legacy is a project originated in the Zonta Club of Fort Collins, and we are transitioning to be our own 501c3 nonprofit. And we are the first historic public art exhibit in Fort Collins to be able to celebrate women's accomplishments and to inspire girls' futures. So we're excited to have you join us today. We are in partnership with the Fort Collins Downtown Development Association with our art project in Old Town, and we will be launching a Living Her Legacy in downtown Fort Collins August 30th to let the community and the guests who come to our community know what is going to be coming to Old Town. We thought today that we would share a little bit of our backgrounds and how we got interested in what each of us are doing. So I'll begin. I initiated the project after visiting an outdoor art exhibit in Denver, recognizing women who had assisted with the foundation of the state of Colorado. I was excited to bring this project to our community due to my upbringing to be of service to others, experiences as an RN, and as a member of the Zonta Club of Fort Collins. Zonta is an international women's service and advocacy organization, if you've never heard of us before. And we have several local projects that we do, and this was one of them originally. This is how we started. This art exhibit was underneath the Zonta Club of Fort Collins Foundation. In addition, I enjoyed being a career and technical education educator for 12 years in the classroom with high school students, and a 20-year business as a health education consultant, working with school districts in Colorado to help them create programs to introduce their high school students to the healthcare profession. And during this time, I was blessed to be able to work with students all over Colorado from all different ethnic backgrounds, all different socioeconomic backgrounds, and I even was able to work with students who were born in refugee camps. So that's my background and why I'm so interested in this project. Also, during all these years with the readings and things I've done, and just from experiences, I've known that women are not recognized as much as men have been over the centuries for things that they have done in their communities or projects they've initiated to help our nation, so to speak. And also working with high school students, I know it's so very important for young girls, elementary school as well as high school, to have role models and mentors in their life to help them figure out what they want to do and be able to learn how to follow their passions. So leading up to August 30th, Living Her Legacy is partnering with the City of Fort Collins Historic Preservation Services Department to bring you HerStory FC, HerStory Fort Collins, which is an exploration of women's history in Fort Collins, including the story of women's suffrage. Now I will turn it over to Jim. Jim, would you please share how you became interested in historic preservation?
Sure, certainly. Thanks, Patty. My name is Jim Bertolini. I'm a historic preservation planner with the City of Fort Collins. And I fell in love with history when I was 6 years old and actually initially intended to be a high school history teacher. Shifted gears in college over to historic preservation. And I really loved it because it was a combination of history and city planning. So it had a practical application to it and opportunities for social justice and recognizing history that sometimes isn't easily identified in our communities. So I'm especially happy that our office is collaborating with Living Her Legacy to bring you HerStory FC this month. Back in May, which is Historic Preservation Month, the city's Historic Preservation Services Division launched a new website, From Parlors to Polling Places. And this is a project to explore women's suffrage and the women's suffrage movement here in Fort Collins and the places where that movement became a reality. Over the next 2 Saturdays, we'll be introducing you to that project, From Parlors to Polling Places. And research and development for that project was completed by a CSU graduate student, Leslie Moore, who joined us as an intern in the spring of 2020. So Leslie, I'll hand this off to you. Maybe you can share a little bit about how you got into historic preservation and what you'll be talking about next week.
Sure. Thanks, Jim. Like Jim said, my name is Leslie Moore, and I was also a little history nerd as a child, but ultimately chose to pursue a career in historic preservation because I really think that places are one of the best way to get people engaged with history. I find that people tend to be really curious about what occurred in the buildings or landscapes that they see every day or they pass through every day, and that opens a door for them to learn something about their community's history. And I think that's a really good opportunity. So as many of you guys might know, 2020 marks the centennial of ratifying the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution, which granted women the right to vote throughout the United States. Though while not all American women benefited equally from this new amendment, it was a really critical step forward to ensuring access and equality at the ballot box. So my presentation next week will explore the suffrage movement here in Fort Collins, what it actually looked like in the city as part of women's fight for voting rights in Colorado. The research covers the movement leading up to 1893 when Colorado women won the vote, and then continues all the way to 1920 when women won the vote nationwide. So you can also check out my research and a walking tour based on that project at fcgov.com/historic preservation if you want to learn a little bit more in the meantime. But I hope to see you next week, August 8th at 2 p.m. When I'll share my research about the role of Fort Collins women in the suffrage movement.
Thank you, Leslie. We've also got some other exciting weekend events coming up this month. You can join us each week right here at our Facebook page, Her Legacy Women of Fort Collins. Jim, would you like to continue?
Sure. Following up on Leslie's presentation next week, so 2 weeks out on August 15th, also at 2 p.m., you can join myself and Senior Historic Preservation Planner Maren Bizdek for From Parlors to Polling Places to Downtown, which will be a virtual walking tour of some of the important sites in Fort Collins associated with the suffrage movement.
Thank you. It's going to be an exciting August for everybody. On Saturday, August 22nd at 2 p.m., we'll be offering a virtual showing of the Women Speak play directed by Barbara Fleming. If you haven't heard of Barbara, she's a local author, and she's our Coloradoan Weekly historic columnist. This play is an introduction to the suffragist movement in general. I think you'll enjoy it. On Saturday, August 29th, join us for a discussion of women's impact in our community through Living Her Legacy, the suffragette movement, and what modern movements for justice like the Black Lives Matter means to our Fort Collins community. And one of our legacy honorees was an original Colorado suffragist, so you'll be interested to learn more about her too, and we'll share that next week. And finally, on August 30th, we wrap up our August talking about the suffragette movement, as you are invited to participate virtually in our exhibit being opened in Old Town on the north side of Coopersmith. We will be there, but we're asking people not to come down, but to follow us virtually on our Facebook page because of the pandemic. But we're very excited to be able to let the community know what's coming to Old Town. This historic art exhibit recognizes 48 notable women who, with ties to Fort Collins, who have left indelible impacts in our community. We are recognizing women's impacts so that we can inspire girls' futures. You can learn more at livingherlegacy.org about these legacy honorees, our education programs, and how you can become involved as a volunteer. The Living Her Legacy project introduction will be on Sunday, August 30th, and we're excited to be able to bring this to our community. Thanks for joining us to celebrate HerStory FC and learning about both the Living Her Legacy project and the Fort Collins Historic Preservation Services Department offerings in our community. Please invite your friends and family to take part in this series. We look forward to seeing you and hearing from you all sometime during this month. Thank you very much for your time today.